We've all been there. As a DM, our players ask us a question that we didn't expect. Or as a player, your character suddenly needs to speak up about something, and whether you're behind the screen or in front of it in the spotlight, improv is part of the game, and when you're put on the spot, it's easy to freeze up and not know what to say. Or on the other hand, you might start rambling and grasping for words because you got started but you weren't really sure where you were going. But there's a simple trick to help you keep your words flowing and stay engaged in the game. Welcome to Geek Philosophy, where we love geeky wisdom. If you're new to the channel, I'm Brian. And today we're going to explore how to use improv at the D&D table, so you can be ready for anything that the game throws at you. This idea was really sparked by a great video from Mike Shea, where he talked about the challenges of improvisation as a DM and how it's something that even experienced game masters can struggle with. I'll link to Mike's video in the description below so you can check it out too. You probably already know that I'm a big fan of the principle, prep for your players, not just the plot. And improv is where this philosophy really comes to life. It's where you react to what's going on at the table. As a DM, you've got those tried and true tools like random names on your DM screen, and those are always helpful, but often we need more than that. And it's also true that the classic 4 rules of improv are also great, and you can apply them to D&D. In fact, Tina Fey talks about them in her book, Bossy Pants. Say yes. When someone says something unexpected, roll with it. Accept their contribution to the story. Say yes and is an even better option because it builds on their ideas. And you're adding something new that keeps the game moving, although it doesn't have to be the exact same plan as they started with. Then make statements. Don't just ask questions. Let the character react with clarity and direction, because there are no mistakes, only opportunities. If a detail slips by, don't worry about it, embrace it. Let it lead to something memorable. And those are all things that are a big part of a role-playing game too. But those rules were really developed for performers that have an audience, where the goal is to entertain and keep the scene moving smoothly. And in a D&D game, we're not putting on a show, except for ourselves. We're telling a story together. So improv works a little differently here. It's helpful to have some additional tools at the table. And that's where the 3-2-1 framework comes in. And you can learn more about it in the video I'm linking in the description below. The 3-2-1 framework gives you a fallback structure. 3 steps, 2 types, and 1 thing. And the name also reminds me that I can use all 3, or 2 of them, or just 1 of these tips. 3 steps helps you come up with a sequence of action or information. 2 types can be either 2 traits about someone or something, or 2 options in the situation. And the 1 thing is just a core idea, a characteristic, or a goal. Now, it's really important to understand you don't have to use it the same way every time, and some situations make it easier to break things down into 3 steps. And other times it might be easier to focus on 1 thing about whatever you're trying to come up with. All that's easier said than done. Let's look at some examples of how it might help connect the dots a little bit better. As a DM, players might press you for more information about an NPC. Hey, why did she say that? What's her demeanor? Does she seem shady when she was telling me that? And in that moment, you might think, I don't know, I just made her up. But then you remember, hey, you've got the 3-2-1 framework to call back on, and you don't need to use all 3. Again, sometimes all you need is 1 thing. You might decide, yeah, she's scared of what might happen if she tells the truth. And that 1 thing could immediately prompt you to 2 other traits. Maybe she seems worried and distracted. And then that might help you describe her a little bit better. She's glancing around the room or fidgeting with a necklace or something that your players might pick up on. And here's the beauty about putting this into a tabletop role-playing game instead of performing on a stage. If you need a few extra seconds to think, call for an insight check or a persuasion check or something to buy you some time while the players are doing something else, so then you can think about it. And then based on the role, you can decide how much you really need to improv and tell them. But there may be some times where your players ask about the world itself, the environment, what's going on. Like, hey, what's this festival for anyway? Are there any local legends or anything? And in this moment, you might have a bunch of backstory that you put together. Maybe it feels like it's too much. Maybe it's a lot to kind of sift through, and you might need to break it down into 3 steps. The festival began as a harvest ritual and then later became some type of political celebration, and now it's used as an excuse just to party. Or maybe you focus on 1 thing. There's a sunburst banner that you've been describing as they go around town, and that's the symbol of the festival. And then the design hasn't changed in centuries because some people believe it holds protective magical properties. Now, That might seem like a lot to come up with on the fly, but really what you're doing is you're giving yourself some time to think, and you can ask for a history or a religion check while you're coming up with some of those things. And then deciding based on that check how much you want to reveal. But then there are those great moments when the players are really using their imagination and they come up with a cool idea. Like, can I bend this pitchfork and use it as a grappling hook to scale the watchtower? Your prep did not cover any of that. But the 3-2-1 framework has got you covered. You can roll with it. You don't need to invent everything all at once. Just sketch it out. 3 steps. They need to attach the hook to the rope. They need to throw it and hit the target, and then they need to climb the wall. You've already figured out what the rules for that situation are on the fly in those 3 steps. Or maybe there's one thing you need to think about. The tower is old and weathered, and the stones may crumble. So climbing it could reveal hidden weaknesses in the wall. So you could have an athletics check or an acrobatics check or something to help let the dice shape what happens next. Now, I know I've been talking about DMs, but this framework works for players too. Let's go with one of the most common situations that you will come across during the game. Someone turns to you at a tense moment and says, "Hey, what do you think we should do?" Now, you're not sure what your character wants to do, but 3 steps often work well in a situation like this. Acknowledge the situation you're in, identify the reason you're in the situation, offer an option. But maybe 2 options come to mind. Oh, 2 options I can choose from? There's the 3-2-1 framework again. Or maybe none of that's really working, and all you really need to do is think about what is the one goal that you're trying to achieve. And suddenly you and your character feel grounded in the moment. You don't have to do all of this stuff. Like I said, pick what you need. As long as it's helping you make a connection to the story and the game and keep things moving, it's working. Remember, improv is kind of already built into the game, and it's not just for DMs. Players improvise constantly. And having a framework just helps you make your choices richer. Now, you may be a natural at improv, and the thought of a framework to help you is not your thing. That's fine. Go with what you know. But the beauty of a framework sometimes is that it frees up some things that you wouldn't have considered. Unlike an improv group who's performing for an audience, you can take a breath and think before you react. It's okay to close your eyes, sigh, and consider what was just said. I mean, that's what your character would do. But what about you? How do you handle these moments when you're caught off guard at the table? Let me know in the comments below. I would especially like to hear about any tricks or stories that you'd like to share. If any of this rang true for you, please make sure to like and subscribe and turn on the notifications so you don't miss out on any of our videos in the future. And you can also sign up for our Geek Philosophy monthly newsletter and get a free campaign planning guide. The link's in the description below. All right, thanks for watching, and remember, you can't always plan the awesome. Cheers.